myself. I probably could, but I haven't yet.
Yeah. I mean, like we're so close to all the stuff that we used to do in Ridgewood that we've basically been continuing to do all those things.
Oh yeah, I mean
But
Ridgewood looks like it's just.
I'm open till I go on to a new reading series or something, you know.
What? Yeah, and it seems to be like poetry, music, and fiction. And he like went out of his way to invite me. I just haven't yet. So yeah, I don't even know what all is in Ridgewood. You know, I've not really explored much of all of that.
It's 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 good. It's got a lot of Gen Z moving in, like a lot. So it's interesting, sort of seeing what like that age group is like interested in. So there's like you have your thrift stores, and then you have your like restaurants and coffee shops, and then there's like some I don't know. There's like clubs opening up. It's kind of weird. I don't understand it. I just you know
Wait, what's weird about clubs opening up? Like, isn't that what
No,
happens?
but it's like they're like weird, like '80s themed. Like there's a place called Club Cassette,
Okay.
and like I want to go in there, and then Christine's like, I don't think we can go in there. I think we're too old. I'm like, no, I want to go in there.
I mean, it's nostalgia directed directly at you, right?
Right? I'm like, I that's my first album was cassette.
Really quickly, Carlos. It looks like we are streaming. Did you know that?
I did, and I did it on purpose. I was testing the microphones and everything, and also this way.
Also,
Well, hello everyone. Now you know all about my neighborhood.
Yeah, well, that's what we're just doing, like this slow kind of like open, let people gather in and stuff like that.
I'm sorry. Can I just say, Our Lady Jack is here. She says our volume's really low, so I didn't know if that's something you needed to adjust on your side.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
Is it something? Okay. Check,
Yeah.
check, 1, 2. Check, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Yeah, just keep talking about stuff, and I will adjust volumes.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Anyway, I love Ridgewood, and like I'm getting to know my new neighborhood, Glendale, which is like it's weird because you just hop on a subway that's 10 minutes away and you're in Manhattan, but it's like I'm almost in the suburbs. Like the houses, there's actually houses here. Like there's apartments too, like apartment rows of houses, but there's also like separate houses with yards and space between them, which is sort of unique in the city.
Do you have a yard? You did, because you said you were gardening, right?
We have a yard. We have a yard, and
that is amazing.
Nice. It is amazing. It's beautiful. We didn't like get a lot of time to really cultivate it this year, so there's a few things, but it's a little bare right now, which like offends my green thumb a little bit.
Next year it will be so bursting and juicy. It will be so lovely.
Exactly. Like some of the stuff that we planted didn't do well, so I don't know why. So I will probably have to experiment with different species and stuff.
Yeah, or maybe adjust the soil. Maybe it needs a little tender, loving care.
I actually had it tested.
Cool.
There's a lab in Queens. I'm trying to remember the university. It was at a university, and you basically have to send them like a pound of dirt in the mail.
Wow.
It feels like illicit somehow. And yeah, they said that there was like elevated lead, but that's like extremely common for like New York in general, just because it's from the leaded gasoline that they were pumping into the air and through exhaust pipes and whatnot. And low phosphorus. So we need to add. Her grandfather used to cultivate the soil quite a bit, so I think he was just growing stuff for so many years at sorry, not phosphorus, nitrogen.
Yeah, you just need to have a couple of dead animals for a little while. It brings up the nitrogen count. Throw a steak in your backyard.
Just like sacrificing the squirrels, because they're kind of at war with some of our plants. So.
Okay. So Carlos, I'm sorry, just really quickly.
I saw.
Okay.
So yeah, how are we doing now? Did the echoes tend to go away?
Volume is good, but echo, echo, echo.
Echo, echo, echo. I could put it, if I put my headset on, would that help?
I don't think so. I think it's something on my end. Let's try this.
Let me move this.
So does that...
and Anthony says sounds like echo is gone now. Echo has been banished.
Okay.
Echo
Thank you.
Gone.
So we got Tailkin in the chat. We've got Our Lady Jack. This is very exciting. I just like when people show up. And we're going to record this session. Matt, I don't know if we've recorded, started press record yet.
No,
Carlos.
we haven't. We haven't quite yet. But I tell you what, I'll just start recording in 3, 2, 1. We are recording. Hello, everybody. We're still like in our soft open. I'm going to give people another 2-3 minutes to come on in.
We used to do the soft open when we did the KGB series live. We would just kind of like have the guests come on 20 minutes early and then like warm them up and get them talking and then kind of like, okay, we'll just kind of go live. And it was really nice. And like people would trickle in.
Yeah.
And now it's so stuffed to the rafters. It's like everything on time. People are there 20 minutes early, lined up outside the building. Carlos, do you have a little theme song to play? A little Fiction Impossible?
I do. Where we've got our opening placard up right now, but I do have our intro that we could play. In fact, I will line that up for us so that it's ready to go because we kind of rolled into town. Everybody, I'm looking at OBS, and OBS just basically is like, you know what? I'm just going to show you a blank screen, and maybe I'll work, and maybe I won't. So maybe I'll have to like rap or something instead of like this thing actually playing. I don't know, but we'll try it here in a second. But I don't know. Did we finish talking about putting dead animals in your yard, Matt?
Sacrificial
squirrels.
I
mean, I think there's always more to say about burying dead animals in the yard. So I mean, I'd be happy to go on.
You know how I learned about nitrogen was that I was researching nettles because I was researching, Hans Christian Andersen, and she makes nettle shirts for her brothers and the wild swans. And I was like, why are nettles growing in graveyards? And that Hans Christian Andersen story, like they grow in the forest and graveyards. I'm like, why are nettles growing in graveyards? And then I researched nettles, and nettles grow in nitrogen-rich soil, as in slaughterhouses, graveyards, and forests. And I was like, oh, well, now it makes sense. And so now I know that you just have to kill animals to get nitrogen-rich soil. In case you wanted to grow some nettles for some tea or nettle flax, Or
if you're looking for that body that was buried, then just look for the nettles.
Look for the nettles. Yes, exactly.
I'm going to go ahead and get us started, okay?
Perfect.
So I'm going to press our introduction transition here now. And it is playing. And there might even be music with it. It should be. If there's not, you still see a nice image of Fiction Impossible. This is a place where we talk about things that can't happen in the real world because how boring. Instead, we talk to authors like Matt Kressel, who wrote Space Trucker Jess, which was one of the high points of my reading so far.
We loved it.
Yeah, we did. We just need more trippiness in the world, and this does trippy right. We're also surprising Matt a little bit because we're going to talk a little bit about video games, and specifically the interactive fiction competition, which is going on right now, that you can play those old style Infocom style games, or like the Twine like choose your own adventure style. So that's what we're going to cover today, and I am going to zap us over to our gang. Hello.
I'm CAC Cooney.
I am Carlos Hernandez, and today we have with us the inimitable Matt Kressel. So
Matthew Kressel is a multiple Nebula and World Fantasy Award nominated author and coder. His many works of short fiction have appeared in Analog, Asimov's Lightspeed, Clarkesworld, Tordotcom/Reactor, Beneath Ceaseless Skies, and many other publications and anthologies, including multiple years best. 18 of his stories are included in his debut collection, Histories Within Us, which came out earlier this year. Oh, it's a banner year for you, Matt.
Yeah, what a year.
Census 5 Press. And his far future adventure novel, Space Trucker Jess, is just out from Fairwood Press. His Mars-based novella, The Rainseekers, is coming out from Tordotcom in February 2026. Along with Ellen Datlow, he runs the Fantastic Fiction at KGB Reading Series in Manhattan, and he is the creator of the Moksha submission systems. I did not know that. Used by many of the largest fiction publishers today. Wow, I'm even more impressed than usual. Well done! Yay, Matt! Woo!
Thanks.
Yeah, welcome. We have some questions that we want to ask you, but also we just want to talk to you about like what you're interested in, what's hot in your brain right now, all of that good stuff. But so right now, maybe we should get started with Space Trucker Jess. And actually, I'm going to write here to the chat and ask them to start, assembling their questions so that maybe we'll have a question or two thrown at the end of all of this. But Space Trucker Jess, I was lucky enough enough to be able to read it early and blurb it. I loved it. I thought it was just an injection of something that has felt missing for a while, or several somethings actually. I love the use of humor. I love the voice of the narrator. I really love how trippy and experimental it is in terms of how it's trying to get us into, all sorts of philosophical conversations that, again, it's like one of the reasons I got into sci-fi. And, I think you really hit a kind of an old school Philip K. Dick-like feel in some places. So maybe tell us a little bit about Space Trucker Jess for those of the audience who haven't had a chance to read it yet.
I mean, my elevator pitch to people, if I have like 15 seconds, as I say, imagine if Natasha Lyonne were narrating 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I love her so much, though.
Right? So I just feel like that was the kind of tone I was going for. Jess, the titular Jess, she's basically a child of a grifter. Her and her dad have been grifting their way across the galaxy for years. But he's a narcissist. He's a criminal. He's a drug addict. He gets himself arrested on a space station. They're only supposed to be there for a few hours. And so she has to get a job because she has no money. She has no place to stay. So she gets a job as a roach runner, which is basically a repair technician for starships and things like that. And she dreams of flying off into the deep in her own giant mega hauler, which is a huge spaceship, basically a freighter, the trucker, right? And she just wants to run hauls. She's like, I want to get away from my dad and all this BS and just fly off into the deep. But she can't escape her dad. She loves him. So she goes down to prison one night to find out, just to say hello, and then she finds out that he's been transferred off station. And when she tries to find out where he's been transferred, they don't give her a straight answer. So the book, trying to avoid spoilers, is basically Jess goes on an odyssey across the galaxy to try to find out where her father is. And it involves missing planets, alien gods, strange societies, and all sorts of trippy things, as Carlos said.
Yeah. And found family.
And found family, very strongly found family.
Heck yeah.
I think, yeah.
So one fun thing I thought I could do is just say a word or a phrase to you that is important to the book and let you just sort of riff on it. I think you might even do a better job than I at not spoiling. But there are just some things that we want to give the people the bon mots, the appetizer, the enticements to really get into the book. So I just things that I found especially tantalizing. So I'll say a word and then you just sort of talk any way you want to about it as it refers to Space Trucker Jess. And the first one I want to do is not the first one you might expect, but I want to start with religion.
Okay. Okay, interesting. So obviously it's the future in Jess, so it's I don't explicitly say the date, but it's at least 1,000 years from now. Humanity settled, over 1,000 planets, I think, and regions, and so obviously religion has evolved, and I think that the religions that we know are probably still there in some form, but they've evolved, and so one of the big ones in the book, and it actually appears in a few other of my short stories, is this planet called Gilder Nefan, which is essentially a group of Palestinians and Israelis who basically say, we're tired of fighting, we're going to get together and go off to this planet and start a new society. So they basically established this is Judeo-Islamic sort of merging of cultures. So they have this language called Samitian, which is sort of a play on the word Semitic, and their Arabic, Hebrew, English, Yiddish, all this sort of mishmash, all coming together into this language and culture. So they refer to God as El Shaddai, which is a Hebraic thing, but then they also pray 5 times a day, and they have muezzins who, are singing to the city. So it was like, I was just sort of playing with this idea of like how religion might evolve, and I didn't want to get into like what happened back on Earth, because you get too close to real history, and then something changes, and then people are like, well, that's not how it went,
Right.
But yeah, and I think that there's also this idea, like they do call, like at times in the book, and I guess this is slight spoiler, but it's in some of
I call it a spicer. I don't believe it's spoilers.
A spicer, okay. So like they do call these sort of inscrutable alien intelligences, they do call them gods.
Yeah.
Reason why they call them that is because they seem to have what we would consider sort of supernatural abilities, to sort of change reality and manipulate physical matter, and also like perceptions of time and space and things like that. So yeah, was that like too long?
No, it's great.
We love it. We love it.
And I love how you handled that society so much, and it features early, and it's super importantly that it's just like one of my huge touchstones. Okay, I only got 2 more, and they're all very different from each other. So the second like phrase idea I want to put in front of you is, what makes a human?
I don't know if I can answer that. That just seems to me like so.
Well, because your book asks the question in different characters and embodiments, right?
Right. So I mean there are basically sentient artificial intelligences in the book that they're called Sent, SENT. And even like there's an organization called the Court of Sense, which is basically like 12 sentient AIs whose like sole purpose is to basically direct traffic and goods throughout the galaxy. They're basically designed to keep the peace. And I in the book they're like sentient minds are afforded like all the rights of like a citizen. They have full rights and everything. Yeah, it's a really good question, and I don't know if I have the answer to that specifically. I mean, I think what I would start to believe that an AI is sentient if it said to me, I'm hurting. This hurts. And then I would start to say, okay, well, that means that it's feeling, and that means that there's sensation there. Is it human? No, but I mean, I think you get a slippery slope if you try to define what a human is too closely.
Yeah. I mean, one of the reasons I ask it too is because you have the uncanny of like things that seem more alive than in current technology they seem like they could be, but also you have an example of a character who's maybe a little less alive, right? People who've made compromises, and again, not trying to be too spoilery, but like, there are certain kinds of surrender one can engage in this world, for a job, for instance, that maybe make them something less than what they were before that job. So, I think what you're doing is you're dancing all along the spectrum of like, what it means to be alive, what it means to be supernaturally alive, all of these ideas of like what, we think of as consciousness being extended, distended, shrunken, and, depending on which character you meet, and how they view themselves and how they view the universe, we have a panoply of different descriptions of identity.
I think more of, rather than the human question, like what it means to be human or what is human, I was going for sort of this evolving sense of self and selfhood, because I think I wrote a large portion of this during the lockdowns, and without sort of that feedback from other humans and like the day-to-day job and doing the things that I normally did, it was this weird sensation of kind of, the way I describe it is like the road runner going off the cliff and not realizing that there's no ground beneath them. And then suddenly I looked down, and it was this very frightening feeling of kind of just losing myself. And I had that feeling when I was younger, and I don't want to get into it, but it caused a lot of problems. But I think that I was kind of trying to explore that. It's like, well, what is the self? Is the self the memories? Is it the feelings? Like, if your memories change, are you a different person? Like, I
Yeah.
was trying to play with all of those things, and just treat it with compassion, I guess.
Yeah. It's so beautiful. I have questions too, Carlos. You want to ask your last one, and then I'll ask some?
Yeah. Just like the last, like, thematic idea. And this just taps into the fact that I think this book has something for everybody, but it has something for the hard SF crew as well. So I want to say to you, Matt, tell me about your conception of space-time.
In what capacity? I
Oh,
mean,
well, in the ways in which, there's a chase scene that goes on that takes advantage of space-time and...
oh, right.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. Um, I mean, there's a conceit in the story. So in the story, one of the conceits is that they use black holes, singularities to power starships. They call them stones, and because they're obviously extremely heavy, and it's just a shorthand. And during a pivotal scene, the containment that holds these stones in place, obviously, because like a black hole just left alone will just start eating everything, right? So they have these like containment fields that keep it locked, and then the containment field breaks down, and then I sort of like have space-time breakdown around it. And what I mean by that is that kind of like we saw in perfect examples like the movie Interstellar, where you get, the closer you get to a black hole, the more rapidly time passes for you, while everybody further away, it passes at a different rate. So like that was one of the sort of ideas I played with in the story to just kind of move events along. So it was like, it was, in a sense, it was a cheat. It's like, oh, I could have 18 months pass, and no time for the character. Is that what you're asking?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the just the sequence. It feels to me like it's so richly researched, and it feels real. Like, I know that all of this is very theoretical. No one actually knows what happens in these sorts of things, but I guess part of what I was trying to get at is sort of like some of the things that you researched and some of the nonfiction that you've been reading in order to put a scene like that together.
Yeah, I mean, so I've always been an avid reader of science magazines, and that stuff just I can't get enough of it. A really great YouTuber, if I can plug somebody, is
Go for it.
Anton Petrov, who does these daily kind of summaries of scientific articles. So the paper,
that's so great.
like, usually I'll read the abstract, and like by the seventh sentence I'm lost. But like he'll like just break it down and talk about these really fascinating papers in a way that's understandable by the layperson. But I've just always been sort of a fan of science, and I tried to teach myself general relativity. I didn't get super far, but it's always been an interest of mine. So it's like, I think when you're just interested in something, you just kind of absorb it. You just read stuff about it, and it just gets into your brain. I don't think I did a lot of specific research for the story. It was just kind of stuff that maybe I had pulled from things that I had learned.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I was just remember, like, I'm gonna slaughter the Richard Feynman quote, but that idea that nobody anywhere understands quantum physics, right? Like
Right.
no,
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, no one gets it. I just saw a professor on Reddit who was introducing like his introduction to quantum physics, and he started by saying, "Right now, I am the only one in this room who doesn't understand quantum physics, but give it 3 weeks and no one will understand it. You know?
That's where the origin of the phrase "shut up and calculate."
Right.
Like, we don't know how it works, but the calculations work. So.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome.
I wanted to ask a little bit about like the origin. So the world building is amazing and the science is really interesting, but the voice of your main character, because it's a first person protagonist, right, is so strong. It's so slangy. It's so both like lonely and irreverent and very funny and very filthy. Like, what came first? Like, did the plot come first? I know that some of the idea came from a painting that you loved that ended up being on your cover, but yet, can you talk about the development of voice? Did it all come together? Like, is it seamless, world, plot, and voice, or did things come piecemeal? How was it developed? I'm really curious about the process.
Yeah. So, sometimes these things are magic. And I think both of you know this as writers, that, sometimes you do something, you're like, I don't know where that came from. The only thing I will say that from my memory is that one night before going to bed, I was just sort of thinking of like stories, and I used to do this a lot where I would sort of tell myself a story as I'm going to sleep. And this one story, I just had this girl who was telling me how a starship engine works, how it takes off from the ground and goes into space, and she's describing it. And I was like, I really like that voice. I don't know why, that just worked. And then I think the other thing that I remember is I was at a writing retreat, and I was kind of like feeling, I don't want to say stuck. I wasn't like, I didn't have writer's block, but it was more of like, I just felt like what I was doing, like I was like laboring over every word and sentence and comma, and I just sort of like got me in this weird knot, and I needed to like liberate myself from that. And something that Jeff Ford had said at he read at KGB, it was actually, I don't think it was a KGB fantastic fiction reading, it was like another event, and he's like, when you sit down with a friend and you're telling them a story, you don't start with world building. You just tell a story, you just tell it, you just get it out. And then I was like, yes, that's what I want to do. So I'm like, I just want to tell this story. And then immediately that voice just came out. It just came out.
Love that.
And it just felt natural. It, like, whenever I sit down to write Jess, I don't have to try hard at all. She just kind of comes out. I don't know why that is. It could be any number of things, but no, that part just came out. And then as far as like the technology of the world, yeah, like that. Paul Chadesson, he's French, is this fantastic artist. He's like 3D digital artist, and I don't remember how I came across his work, but he had this one picture of this like enormous space station above a planet, and it's so detailed and rich. And like, one of the things that, like, when I look at a lot of sci-fi future art, it always feels very Star Wars to me, and I love Star Wars. I love it, right? But it always felt very like World War II, if that makes sense. Like it looked like fighter planes, and I'm like, you're in space, it's not practical to have wings in space. Why do you have lasers that only shoot straight? You're in space. Like it just never made sense to me. So like, the thing about Paul Chadesson's work is it just seemed practical. It seemed real. It looked to me like this is how something would be built in the future. I'm
looking at some of his art now, like on it. What is it? PaulChadesson.com. Oh yeah, and it's just
ArtStation.
Oh, ArtStation. I think that's
PAO.
Yeah, that's what I linked to in the chat there. It's really amazing.
So he's really exploded, and he's done work for like the Dune movies and Foundation TV show and a lot of other stuff. And so we were like really lucky to get his art. I named the space station in the book after him because I was just so enamored. But anyway, I'm sorry. So
I love it.
the space the art is called Orbital City Builder, and then he has another piece of art called City Printer, and just the idea of like that you can print, like 3D print a city or a spaceship or a space station. So like that sort of got my creative energies going, and I'm like, oh, that's the world I want, where they're just like, we're just gonna like print a starship,
I love that.
And
I remember
like,
because she has a smaller printer on one of her ships, but
yes,
it's broken, and she has to figure out how to fix it.
broken. Like, it's like, well, she says it like, why can't you just print a better printer? And I'm like, well, yeah, you have to. I have to think of something, because otherwise, you could just go on forever. And I'm like, oh, it's like laws of thermodynamics. You can't make anything better than the thing you have, right?
Yeah.
In fact, it's usually worse. Yeah, no. And then like, she talks about this starship that she wants, the Spark Megahauler. Like, she originally saw it in a print catalog. So like back in the day, you would flip through a catalog, or I guess it would be digital. She'd be scrolling through a digital catalog and like, oh yeah, that's the ship. And then, theoretically, you'd pay some company to print this starship for you.
I was just thinking as you were talking, I was remembering that one friend she made on the junk planet where you go and buy a used starship.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just suddenly, I was just reminded, Carlos and I talk about Candide a lot. And it's like such a Candide moment of somebody who has been hounded by adventure, basically, and harrowed by it, and coming to a place, even just briefly, of rest with an older person who must have been through the ringer. If I could have a whole novel about him.
Yeah.
Recognizes that in her, that kind of like strife, and just treats her well and wisely and kindly. Again, like that compassion that is just exuded in so many of the chapters and pages, and that kind of like Candide moment where he comes upon the Muslim man in the garden, and he's like, how do you bear it? How do you bear this world? And he says, you must cultivate a garden. And it's just like, there's just something about that. I mean, Jess is so, you just want Jess to kind of like not be destroyed by the universe and entropy and all the things that are working against her, but also like that she doesn't self-destruct because she has to like fight her own worst tendencies, because there's so much good in her and there's so much love and tenderness and warmth, and it's hurt her too many times, and so she actively works against it.
Yeah, no, exactly. The universe has continually done its best to break her, and she's resilient. I'll give her that. She's extremely resilient
And super charming, like just a scrapper.
Yeah, scrappy.
Yeah.
Lucky,
Yeah, lucky, scrappy, and smart.
Yeah, smart. Yeah.
Yeah. We're sort of like, luck is, what is it? Preparation meets, whatever the hell preparation meets.
I know the saying.
Yeah.
The mechanic, who's in the book, is Bora, who was actually based off of. I had a mechanic whose name was Bora, and he was very, very much like that. I mean, like to a degree, but he was just super friendly and warm and just brilliant man, and just really enjoyed talking to him. And I was like, I gotta turn him into a character.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it so much. Carlos, is this the time where Matt reads? We ask Matt to read.
This is the perfect time. Matt, if you have a little delicious bit for us to hear, it's time for us to share with the audience here. So everyone...
And Our Lady Jack says, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity.
Opportunity.
There you go.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. So I was going to read from the beginning, but I've read from the beginning so much that I was like, I don't want to bore myself and anyone who's heard this before. So I'm going to read from chapter 30. So hold on, let me just get the light. So here.
Chapter 30, that's great. Some meaty part of the mid-text.
It's meaty. I don't think it's too spoilery, or what was the term that you used? Spicy?
Spicy, yeah. I mean, spicy does mean different things in literary circles these days, but people say spoilers, and I think about spoiling food. So you're spoiling the nutrition of the story if you say something about it, and people really feel that way. Like, they will not see a movie or read a book if they know something about it. And I am such the opposite. It's like, the more you tell me about the story, whether it's a book or a movie or a play, why you loved it, what your favorite part was, why you think it was working, the more I'm likely to engage with it and then like go and be like, but what's my opinion? And oh, now I have an opinion to bring to you. Except when like 30 people are telling me to read a book or watch a movie, or 300, and they're like, you have to, it's the best thing. And then I get like, I'm not sure it's the best thing if everybody's telling me that. And then I get more reluctant. It's very weird. But that's the only time when everybody's so vehement that I feel kind of attacked by enthusiasm. But that's something I need to get over, because it's sometimes like they're just right, that they're right that the thing is good. Like, everybody was right about Sinners, and I don't regret watching it, you know.
Oh yeah, no, Sinners was great.
But I was more likely to watch it because someone says the scene with the music, and I was like, well, now I have to know what that means. What does that mean? You know?
Yeah, now you have me thinking about Sinners. That was a good movie. We'll talk more about media we like in a minute. I'm going to set up this chapter just a little bit. I don't think you need too much setup. The only thing you need to know is Jess is on this planet I mentioned earlier called Gildernafon, and she's looking for her father, and she has a clue that someone wrote in a holy book, but she's really just trying to figure out her next step. Oh, and then I also use a gender-neutral pronoun called E, like instead of he, her, it's E, and then E-I-R, as like her, him. The broken vow's small, far as bars go, just a long wooden counter and a bunch of tables strewn round like shrooms on a dead tree. Some geeks in the back are loudly cursing or laughing, and two more are playing chess so intently they look like statues. There's pics on the walls, swaying fields of Varuna grain, Petua's mammoth rings, and Esau's brow, all blue, majestic, and swirly. Crap you'd see in any shitty bar this side of Perseus, but all the pics are pale and faded and got more scratches than a misaligned thrust vector vane. This place is trying hard to be your typical shitty bar and a typical shitty system, earning overtime to make you forget how far out from humanity you truly are. And it mostly works, except for the persistent, disconcerting smell of gismus wafting in. Gismus is the psychotropic drug that they ingest. The streets of Stell are thick with its stench. I walk up to the bar and sit on a stool. The bartender's a middle-aged geek with lines round her gray eyes and skin so dark it seems blue. Her hair is cut so short he's almost bald, and he wears all black like he's just been to a funeral. He's the first geek I seen here that don't present an obvious gender, and it's fucking refreshing. How much for whiskey, I ask. 10, he says. Shekels? What else? I fish round my pocket for coins and curse when I count just 3. Don't suppose you take standard coin, I say. He squints at me like I just insulted her mom. They got changers in Usha Square. We don't take dirty FTU money here. He spits on the floor. I glance over my shoulder, ready to leap out the way of an approaching fist. Talk like that, I get you a swift kick in the jaw and a trip out an airlock in less scrupulous parts of the galaxy. But none here give 2 quarks. I guess trash talk in the FTU's golden in the outer new, where the FTU don't reach. And maybe that explains the rise of this new alliance. I like this geek already. He's shit-talking the FTU like it's her dad and not the most powerful org in the galaxy. You gotta respect gas giant balls like that. Me and her definitely docked at the wrong port, so I vector round for a new approach. I grin and say, So, you're Vima? Who's asking? Jess, I say. Friend of Asim. Oh, he says, scowling. Friend of his, are you? Vert, Asim says hello. He's stellar sorry he ain't been by. Is he now? Truly. That Svalach owes me 600 fucking shekels and a new table. He points with his thumb into the corner toward a broken square of wood and a pile of junk. Well, we ain't good friends, I say. Actually, we just met. He looks me over. How much you got? 3 shekels, I say, feeling pathetic. Hard to believe a few months back I was in spitting distance from my own mega hauler. Tell you what, he says. You give me 3 shekels, and next time you see Asim, you give him a swift kick in the balls for me. Deal? I can't tell if he's serious or no, but I nod anyway. Deal, I say, smiling, and he smiles back at me, teeth white as suns. Here, he says, pouring 3 fat fingers of whiskey into a glass, so scratched it's gone gray. First one's on the house.
Aw.
Thanks, I say, then take a sip. And maybe 'cause it's been ages since I had a drink or the local food's thrown off my tongue, but it tastes like fucking replast. God's damn awful. No, he says, you like? Distilled it myself with Varuna grain, wheat rye and secret spices. They are good, no? Fantastic, I say, coughing through an epic throat burn. So what's old Asim up to these days? Sitting in front of his building, drinking tea, arguing about shit, I say. So, the same, he says. Hey, where are you from? You sound like the Didi from my homeworld, Nyack. The Nyack and Ceaseless? Right, he says, baring her huge teeth in a grin, so happy it's almost menacing. You cheeks know it. White sand beaches, I say, purple sunsets, orbits the gas giant Agaston, whose rings glitter like diamonds when the sun hits. Tak, Vima says with despairing sigh. I miss it douja much. You been there? I think back. Years ago, me and Daddy spent a week there waiting for a jeek from Aglasis, hoping to trade for a star-beaten Hanovi 97 dirt jumper. But the jeek was late, so we waited on the beach, sunning, drinking, talking. Shiver, we talked until the sun went down in purple splendor every few hours, leaving Agustin's crescent shining crimson, gold, and glorious against the stars. And me and Daddy were still talking when the sun rose in violet fire. That's where Daddy told me he had 4 brothers he never met, and how he met my mom, Clara, while looking for work in Mihasis, and how he never thought he'd have kids, never even wanted them. But after me, he never loved the jeek more. The sun set and rose 9 more times before we fell asleep, and I was warm and safe and at peace, and I floated the idea of staying there, on Nyack, Daddy and me, making a new life, away from the grift. Just the 2 of us, settle down. Maybe I'd go to school and learn a trade. Then Daddy said he wasn't waiting for no jeek, and there was no ship neither. No, the real reason we were on Nyack was 'cause he was hiding from some murderous inner terra thug, 'cause he stole 3 pallets of platinum. The thug even blown up a gas hauler thinking Daddy was on it. Thankfully, the hauler was driven by softs and not jeeks, but the Nyack criminologists still swept us up into their huge investigation, holding us in a pen for 10 days. They never proved Daddy had anything to do with the bombing, but they didn't trust him neither, so they banished him, and me by association, from Nyack forever, which was stellar sad, 'cause I loved it there. I could have stayed there with Daddy forever. Hey, the bartender says, I asked if you ever been to Nyack. A long time ago, I say, but I don't remember much. So where are you from then, he says. I take a sip of her awful whiskey. It burns less going down this time. I'm a child of the verse, I say. Ain't we all, he says, nodding and refilling her glass. He clinks mine so hard I worry it'll crack. We drink more. I pull out my copy of The Light of the Universe and eat grimaces. You ain't gonna start evangelizing, are you? 'Cause God and me got our own relationship. Snayesh? I show her the symbol Sabira drew in my book. You ever seen this? Old Mandarin character, Zhong, means middle. This way, sure, but the line's horizontal, like this. I twist the book on the z-axis. Don't ring no alarms. What's it from? Some geeks were here a few years back asking for folks to join them for an engineering project on Oxway. They wore uniforms with this on their shoulders. That ring any alarms? Nah. Who are they? No clue. Why you want to know? I'm looking for my daddy, and I think they might have something to do with where he is. We're all looking for someone, he says, nodding, then pours us more whiskey. Shiva, I can't swallow any more of her dreck. Plus, I'm racking up a monster tab, but he's pouring, and it's been ages since I last had a drink. There's a shout behind me, then a crash, and I spin round. The chessboard and its pieces lie scattered across the floor, and one of the former players now holds the other by the neck. Suraj is cheating, the man says. I'll murder him. Romek, Vema shouts. I got 3 rules in my bar. He points to a sign on the wall, handwritten in Angli, Mandarin, and Nephanese. No gismus, no fucking, no fighting, no exceptions. Suraj was cheating, Romek says. Take your bullshit outside, Vima says, or don't come back. Romek slowly releases his grip on the Jeek's neck. Double or nothing, he says. Okay, Suraj says, rubbing his throat, but you fetch the pieces. Romek nods. I think a pawn rolled under that table. Suraj never cheats, Vima says as I turn back to her. I watched him play 1,000 games. He's too good, and Romek's a sore loser. He only beat Suraj once, and that's because Suraj was so drunk he passed out. But still they play all day, every day, 9 days a week. They do it 10, but we're closed on Keter days. You'd think they get bored, but they never do. You know the story of Sisyphus? The Jeek with the rock? That one. Sisyphus cheated death, so Zeus, king of all gods, condemned him to heave a boulder up a hill for eternity. Soon as Sisyphus reaches the top, the boulder rolls down again, and he's got to start over. That chess game there is Romek's boulder. The world could be crumbling to dust, but long as Romek's got his chess, he's golden. He gets frustrated. How could you not? Losing all the time. But in the end, he sits his ass down and plays again. They both do. They'll do it till they're dead. Something about this makes me sad, and I take a long sip of whiskey. The key to happiness, Vima goes on, is finding our boulder. More? I'm thirstier than I've ever been, but broker too. I ain't got coin, remember? I'll put it on your tab. Go change your dirty FTU chips for shekels. Pay me back tomorrow. He pours me 3 more fingers. I don't wait for her to pour hers before swallowing every drop of the awful liquid. Fuck, I gotta fly from this hell before I turn into Romek. Lay now, Vima says after I swallow my drink. Slow down, friend. We got all the time in the world. Not me, I say. I drop all my remaining coin on the bar. Thanks to the drink. I'll come back with the rest. Do that, he says. And remember about Asim. Swift kick in the balls. You got it, my Drew, Vima says. He puts a warm hand on mine like we go back eons and not minutes. I think he's going to make a pass when he shouts over my shoulder, Erval, no sleeping on the fucking floor again. A portly Jeek lies flat on his back on the ground, snoring. Vima leaps over the bar and with Suraj's help lifts the man into a chair, and while they're distracted, I down Vima's whiskey and fly hyperbolic to the exit.
Oh, it's so pleasurable to hear it out loud. Do you have plans for an audiobook? Like, do you like to do a, I don't know, Kickstarter or talk with Fairwood or?
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, it's out on submission with, my agent sent it out on submission, so waiting to hear back from folks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I think I think it would make an amazing audiobook if you get the right narrator to get Jess's voice. Absolutely.
Oh my God. I can't wait. Whoever it is so lucky, and they're going to, I mean, obviously you'll I don't know. Sometimes they send you like a couple, like 3 or 4 narrators, and they're like, well, who do you like? And then you get a little say in it. That would be so cool if you did. Yeah. It's just so, because that, you're right. Like, the dream is Natasha Lyonne, of course, naturally.
I think she would totally do it. I mean, Jess is,
He's a lot younger.
than
Yeah.
Natasha. So I mean,
But somebody with the kind of like that smoky, twangy. I mean, like Natasha Lyonne isn't twangy, but unmistakable, like an unmistakable voice. One of those where there's certain narrators where you're like that one. I would know you in 10,000. You know.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
That was just delicious.
Yeah.
I love that scene. I love that. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you read that one. Yay.
I'm glad you liked it. Because like, you the late great Kit Reed, told me, when you do a reading, she's like, it's got to play, and then, in my head, I'm always like, oh my God, is there not enough things happening? If you read this, is it like, she's just sitting at a bar talking, but then I'm just like, I don't know, I feel like there's an emotionality there where she's just, seeking something and sort of sees that like her life could diverge at this point, so she has to make a choice.
Yeah.
Well, and Carlos, you like to say when people talk about, well, where's the plot? Carlos says character is plot, and what that chapter is full of Jess in full, like in her fullness, and so like. Yeah. For me, at least, as a reader, nothing more needs to happen than that voice being completely honest. You know?
And also, just the context of it, because Jess is very young and she's slugging back a lot of whiskey. Like, also, like the uncle in me is like, oh, Jess, easy. Like there's a lot of context there to be like, dang, this is a lot of hurt and bad decision, and you're talking like a 45-year-old. You're talking like Natasha Lyonne, and you're way too young for that.
She's been around, and I also think that this is a universe. It's where kids are feral.
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, I was a feral kid. I'm a Gen X kid, and parents left for work in the morning and they'd come back at like 6, and you just had to be home for dinner. And until then, you could do all sorts of crazy shit. And
if you had a new raccoon best friend, fine, as long as you go to school tomorrow.
Oh my God, I'm going to tell you the dumb shit that we did.
Yeah, I was thinking back to my wonderful brothers, but like those back alley deals and like smoking and drinking at age 9 to 11 and who knows what else. I was such a paladin of a child, like such a rule follower, and it's probably too high strung to know all of what they did, but I'm glad they kind of told me as I got older later what I could handle it a little better and wouldn't tell on them. I would be a narc, basically, unfortunately.
Well, with you,
man.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna tell you a dumb thing that I did, but it's fine. I don't need to tell it.
You can if you want. I mean, we read Space Trucker Jess.
So, like, someone always had like an older brother or sister get us like fireworks for the 4th of July. So we would get like fireworks and then like do all sorts of stupid things where we'd like drop them in the sewer and then you hear the echo from miles away. Or you'd put like an aluminum garbage can cover under a blockbuster and it would launch it like 100 feet in the air. So of course then we ran out of fireworks, but we were like, well, that was fun. Where can we get more gunpowder? So my friend's girlfriend, this is where it's like I'm surprised that I made it to adulthood, bought us a box of shotgun shells.
Oh no!
And we emptied out the gunpowder from shotgun shells with pocket knives in his bedroom. And his parents probably had wandered into the room at least one time and like, hey, maybe even not. I don't even think they went into his room. And we basically made our own firecrackers and worse things and blew them up in the woods. And it was...
It worked?
Oh, God, dude, I'll tell you the story because like whenever I tell it, I'm like, I don't know how I survived into adulthood. So I watched this movie. I think it was like Bridge Over the River Kwai. If you've ever seen that, it's like a World War II film.
Oh, classic, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's that movie where they use a cigarette fuse. Like you put a cigarette on like a stick of dynamite, and then as the cigarette burns down, then it hits the dynamite and lights the stick. So it's like a timer, basically.
Yeah.
A timer.
Whoa.
So I'm telling the story. we made we filled up a pipe. We drilled a hole into into one end of the pipe, screwed it on. The gunpowder was in the pipe. We somehow got a fuse, and we put like a cigarette fuse on the end. And then, we lit the cigarette, and then we wandered off. This was in the middle of the woods. We're making sure no one was nearby. And we lit it, and 10 minutes go by, 15 minutes go by, 20 minutes go by.
Oh, God.
And it starts raining, and then we're like, and then he's like, oh, it must have gone out. This is my friend that I did this with. And then he's like, we got to go back. I'm like, no. He's like, we got to go back. And so, like, he's like creeping up to it, and then the cigarette was still burning. He flicks it off, and then he just, like, the fuse, because we didn't really have a lot of fuses, was like maybe that big, so like, a centimeter or less. And he just lights it.
Oh, God.
Run. And then we just hear like almost like a if you've ever like knocked your fist on a like a flagpole.
Yeah,
sure. Okay.
A little bit louder than that. And then we're like, oh, that was a dud. Oh well, like, 'cause it may have just like launched like a rocket, and that was it. And then like 3 seconds later, we hear like the shrapnel just came raining down.
Whoa!
And then we kind of looked at each other, and I think at that point both of us were like, I think we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
wow.
It was just like, I don't know how I made it to adulthood.
You made it with Jess inside of you, which like you just wait, like knocking to come out.
Right.
And you were young scientists, I suppose we could.
I don't know. Scientist was the right word. Young something.
I mean, physicists for sure. You were engaged in.
There's definitely some science involved.
Yeah.
Feral young scientists.
Yeah.
Were you were in the woods? Where were you? What part of the world? Was it New York?
This was on Long Island. This was they call it Massapequa Lake now, but as a kid we called it Croons Lake. And then they renamed it to Massapequa Lake, and I was like, why? Croons were so cool. And then I looked it up, and he was like a total asshole. I think he was like racist, slave owner or something. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it. But it's like Massapequa Lake. There's if you know the Bethpage bike path, it goes through that area a little bit.
Wonderful. Nice. Well, Carlos, we want to talk about some games and some fiction that you might have liked and some interactive fiction. Carlos has exciting news about interactive fiction.
Yeah, so we actually don't have a ton of time, so maybe we'll concentrate mostly on just like a couple of minutes. But Matt, one of the questions we had for you is, what memories as a Gen X kid do you have of playing those classic interactive games, those interactive fictions like from Infocom, like Zork, for instance, or,
Oh my God, I loved Zork so bad. Yeah, like all those games, like Ultima, I'm trying to remember, there was one, what was it called? It was for like the IBM computers which I didn't have at home. I had a C64. Transylvania.
Okay.
It was like a text-based game with images. All those games were great.
Yeah. So right now, the interactive fiction competition is running. And this is people who are following in the tradition of those old Infocom games. There's a development suite called Inform. There are two that are really extant, Inform 6 and Inform 7. And these are ways for people to make these interactive games. A lot of people are also using Twine when they want to do something more like clickable, a little more, you're not guessing the right verb or whatever. Instead, you're just sort of like clicking on choices and things like that. And there's a lot of innovation going on too. And in fact, that's the thing that I wanted to bring up. It's a really interesting subculture. It's like not the hugest group in the world that still wants to play these mostly text-based games, but they are passionate. And so what you get is like the subculture of some of the most articulate people I have ever encountered on the internet, where they're writing, these page long reviews, highly erudite, with Latin sprinkled in, and just like an extreme like high level of discussion going on there. I just think it would be really interesting for people to just kind of like tap into this subculture a little bit. So I have put the link in to the ifcomp.org, and it's the ballot, what they call it, and it just shows you there are, I think, 85 games that people have published to enter into the contest. And I'll also, just say that your humble host has entered one as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, I did a Twine game called the Burger Meme Personality Test. That is a huge satire of the completely baffling personality tests that some employers are making their employees take before they get a job. The things are horrific, and so of course ripe for lampooning, which is basically what I do. But yeah, so if anybody's interested, you can go there and have a play, not just of my game, but just have a little poke around. There are the parser games that are more like the Zork style, and then there are the clickable ones. But yeah.
We played through some of one it was a science fiction one called Anne of Green Cables, which read a lot like Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies, and that whole text was lifted from Ellen Montgomery, but some of the SF language and the cyberpunkification of Anne of Green Gables I thought was very clever. We didn't play through a lot of it, but we were just getting to the point where more kinds of choices were being made. And of course, the more you make the choices that diverge from the text, the less the text is like Ellen Montgomery. But it was still kind of fun to play through a little bit of it. Anne of Green Cables.
Yeah. So anyway, wanted to invite people to take a visit there. And Matt, you're a person who is extremely versed in programming and also like styling and things on the internet. Have you ever done any kind of like work that has bridged both of your worlds together, of the writer and also the programmer?
Like in terms of gaming or
not necessarily. Like it could just be hypertext or just anything that you have, because obviously you've created the platform for people to submit their work. I'm just wondering,
right.
Like, have you ever even been interested in using some of your knowledge of programming and your knowledge of writing to combine into some other work of art? Could be gaming.
Yeah, a little bit. I think the one that really comes to mind is like I started doing like 3D art, which is it's not really prose based, obviously, but it's just sort of a way for me to sort of get the images in my head, out into existence. I've never done any kind of prose based storytelling. I think that my programming brain and my writing brain, it's like, in the Scanner Darkly, they exist in two separate consciousnesses in my head. And so it's weird to bridge them together, because I find that like with the writing, I enjoy more of the sort of like dreamscape, like, whereas I find like coding is a lot more like logic based and keeping. I guess there are certain parallels. I'd have to think about it, but no, I haven't really done too much.
Yeah,
it's interesting watching Carlos code, like he did, like when he was doing the Twine stuff. It's like I watch him; his creative brain is much more active, like first thing in the morning. But even when he's really tired, he's still able to do some of the coding stuff. It's still creative work, but it is definitely a different part of his brain that he can access at different levels of energy.
I know Benjamin Rosenbaum recently put out The Golem and the Djinn.
Yeah.
Right? And that to me is I think he said it's like 300,000 words of text or something.
Right.
So one of these days I want to just sit down and play that, because I know he's similar, like he writes and he also codes, so it's really interesting to see what he can.
You'll love it.
He's got such a great brain. I've not read that, but we played Negocios Infernalis with Ben. Well, I say we. Carlos said I watched for a while, but it was the longest game because all of the people playing were all writers. And normally it runs for 4 people, 3.5 hours. It was a 9-hour game. It was epic. I had no idea. And they all had fun right till the end, but I was sort of like shell shocked. But Ben was one of those great minds that was constantly like, you could just see it like building and overflowing. It was so rich, so rich.
Yeah. And he did it through another venue for writing these sorts of games that's called Choice of Games. He uses the Choice of script, which is just like instead of Twine or Inform, it's another way to do it. I don't know. You might want to just like open a window, see how it looks. Like I wonder, I wonder what a Matt Kressel, Choice of Game would look like. It might be something to.
It would be fantastic.
I mean, I don't know if this counts, but I've been writing my own D&D RPG. I don't know.
Yes, of course it counts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why I didn't even think of that. Actually,
I mean,
it's so cool.
Yeah.
What is the premise? Briefly, I know we only have negative 2 minutes, but that's okay.
Oh, it's a haunted town where there may or may not be a portal to another dimension that is summoning creatures that can't be defeated.
Yay! Oh my gosh, it'd be so fun to play D&D with you back. Oh my gosh. Well, we have actually run out of time and are a little bit over. We want to respect your time, but thank you so much for reading with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was really fun.
The time flies by. Like we could just keep talking for hours and hours. But everybody, if you haven't done so already, please check out Space Trucker Jess.
I will drop the link in here, but it's also on my blog and on Matt's blog. And, you could just Google Space Trucker Jess really easily. So good. It's Fairwood Press.
And if you happen to be in the New York area, either regularly or just visiting one of these days, come by and see the KGB reading. It is, one of the institutions here, and you will see Matt hosting and bringing some of the best writers that you could possibly want here to New York to read to us. So thank you for that service as well. Thank you for creating, the venue by which all of these writers have been submitting their work to all of these different magazines.
Never knew. It's sort of like, you know how like you're like, oh wait, you went to that school in 1999, but I went to that school. And it's like, how long have I been submitting to Moksha now? But it was made by Matt Kressel. It just makes me feel warm and fuzzy to it in a way I never have.
Well, I'm glad. When I get like really nervous when I'm like, oh my God, all these people are using it. What if something happens to it? But no, I'm glad it's been useful and a lot.
I mean, it's a deep piece of service that you've done for the SFF community. So thank you so much for everything. Go and buy Matt's books, and we will see you next time. And
Tailkin is like, I can't wait to pick it up now. And Tailkin is great. We'll review it generally and talk about it online, and it's just so enthusiastic and lovely. And it's just so great. And thank you, the chat, for coming. Thank you for showing up.
But then, Claire, who do we have next month?
Next month, we have Will Alexander, who is a National Book Award winner for his middle grade book. I think that's the Goblin one? Goblin Secrets, perhaps? Sorry, I don't have his bio memorized, but he's a good friend of ours. And he has written an adult book that is coming out very shortly, as well as recently edited an anthology of middle grade that Carlos is in, and it is a wonderful premise. What's the premise of that one, Carlos?
So the premise of that one is hard science fiction for middle graders.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
So, and yours is Space Bees?
It's calm down. It's only Space Bees. That's what the title is. So.
The research he did about bees in space was wild, and there's a lot more than you think there would be about bees in space. The experiments that they've done, spearheaded by children, amazing.
If you're gonna terraform, you need bees. So yeah.
So anyway, so Will Alexander will be next month. I'm pretty sure I know December's, and I'm crossing my fingers for November's, but I will put that schedule up as soon as possible. Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you, everybody. Good night. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.